Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G. And joining me tonight is Brad Olsen. We're going to be jumping into some great things tonight. And we're broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KMPL, and Odyssey Radio. Remember, you can access our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio and at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is Spaced Out Radio, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the S.O.R Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, plus rock out to some Bumblefoot and so much more. Like I said, we're going to have an awesome show tonight for you. We have Brad Olsen, who is a author, lecturer, publisher, founder of CCC Publishing in Weird Street Faire in San Francisco, California. We're going to be jumping into some great stuff. But what we're going to need to do first is go ahead and welcome everybody into the building. Let's see who came. Let's see who was first. Let's see who gets the gold for tonight. And it looks like, wow, Race Fan again. Race Fan gets the gold. Saying, sorry, Derek, I was in first yesterday. Right? Look, rule number 1, Race Fan is always first. Rule number 2, I think that you are first, refer to rule. If you think you're first, refer to rule 1. I like that, Race Fan. We have Area 51, my guy, coming in with the silver. And then we have the Debrief coming in with the bronze. Let's go ahead and welcome everybody in on this after hours Saturday night. We have Jessica S. Thank you for coming. Derek Galloway. Thank you for coming. Let's see. Lars Jansen, thank you for joining us. Catherine Jones, hello. Thank you for coming. Nancy Thames, who's going to be our guest actually next week, next Sunday. No, actually tomorrow, right? Yeah, Nancy, you're coming in tomorrow. We're going to have Nancy Thames coming in tomorrow. Welcome, Nancy. Thanks for coming tonight. We have Road Flare. Thank you for joining us. All right, Kurt M. Thank you for coming in and joining the after hour. Little Cam 51, appreciate you coming. Oh, yeah, we got my guy Drew Banky saying, yo, what up, Brad and crew? Thanks for coming in to the after hour Saturday nights. We have Jimmy Gonzalez. Jimmy, thank you for coming. Paula Faust, thank you for coming in. All right, looks like we got Road Flare saying, hi, Jess, thanks for coming in. Paranormal Pixie, Laura. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Miss Laura. Thank you for coming. Stargazer, just emojis, silly face. Thanks for coming, Stargazer. See, yep, Captain Jones and saying hi, Rob G. Well, hi back to you, Captain Jones. Okay. My guy, the Dogman UK, the skeptical researcher, Rob G. Oh, yeah. Hi, chat. Thanks for coming, Dogman. It's not a party unless you're here, buddy. Welcome to the show. Greetings. Thank you for coming. Welcome to the show. Brown Dwarf, greetings. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, Susie B. Woohoo. Rob G and Coley, thanks for coming in. Susie B. Oh, it's like a new name to me here. This is my story. Greetings from Washington State. Greetings from Southern California, Spaced Out Radio, After Hours. Lulu Bell, thanks for coming in. Hello, chat. And who else do we got here? Oh, we got Sovereign Cosmic Wildman. Yo, Spaced Out Radio. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, the Demon did that woo show. I see you, Demon. I see what you're saying there. All right. And Avita NY, what up? And looks like we're almost caught up here. Nicola Perry Jr. Thank you for coming in. Christy Martindale, Christy from Oregon, welcome. All right, and I think we are actually caught up at this time. I want to thank everybody for coming out. You know, it's been a great week here at Spaced Out Radio, and as we do on our Saturdays, we like to jump into the Spaced Out Radio time machine and go back and take a look at the week that was Spaced Out Radio. So we're going to go ahead and do that, look at some of the highlights of the week. Actually, here's what I want to do first. This is pretty important. We talk about joining the Space Travelers Club. We talk about, going to spacedoutradio.com because we do not have ugly swag. And I'm actually here to prove that to you real quick. I want to prove that to you guys. So guess what? This is what we have. Let's take a look. We don't have ugly swag. We really don't. And we're going to go ahead and prove it to you right now. That's right. Anonymous Rex says, join the club. But look at this. Here we go. We don't have ugly swag. Let's take a look and see what you might find at spacedoutradio.com. Gotta get the Random Guy t-shirt, Alien Rocker tee, baby long sleeve. We got the Bigfoot toque. We got the Merle tee. Who doesn't have a Merle tee yet? Go and get a Merle tee. or a Bob Lazar tee. I might have to get the Bob Lazar tee there. That's pretty nice. I'm not from Canada, but I might rock the Canadian Sasquatch tee. Why not? I might do that. We also have, classic S.O.R tee. And I thought Derek was just playing around when he said, they have Spaced Out Radio draws, but we do. We have Dave Scott Beard and Hair Awareness draws for men and for women. So make sure you guys go to the shop and pick that up. Dog Man, Let's Rock Tea, okay? El Ovni Volador t-shirt, the F.U. Dave t-shirt, Grantavius Max. Shout out to Grantavius. We have the Grantavius Max t-shirt. We have stickers, holographic dye stickers. We have hoodies. Oh, the Lip Blade t-shirt. You got to get one of those. And then for those who are really into the woo, we got that Peak Woo tee. We got the Peak Woo tee. What else do we got? Phoenix Light shirt. We got the Plethora Drink Baseball shirt. Julie Farrell, you got to get the Plethora shirt. You know that. Let's see. S.O.R Bluetooth speaker with wireless charging pad. Okay. I like that. S.O.R Coolio sleeve. And some more stuff here. Look at the S.O.R kicks. You need a new pair of shoes. Going to get the S.O.R kicks. And then you could get that with the S.O.R official t-shirt. And then get some nice warm coffee in that S.O.R logo tumbler. Okay, let's see. It's a little too cold for the tank tops, but we do have the Sasquatch tee, the Tim's Alien Woo shirt. You got to get that, and then the UFOs and Tacos tee, because Dave loves his Taco Bell. So yeah, you might want to rock that and represent, and then take a picture and put it on the website over here, spacedoutradio.com. All right. So remember, here we go. We got some more stuff. We got some skivvies. We got the We Own the Night hat. The We Own the Night stuff is really nice. The We Own the Night t-shirt. Women's Woo Train undies. Whoa. Okay. Didn't know we had those. Okay. And Woo Factor pillow. Who doesn't need one of those? From a guy's Woo Train boxer briefs, Woo Train mug, and a You Got Aliens t-shirt. Come on, guys. Let's do it. Because guess what? We don't have ugly swag. Shop today at spacedoutradio.com. And then for all my space travelers out there, join the Space Travelers Club. Patreon.com/SOR Space Travelers Club. And this is kind of what the site looks like. If you've never been there, just go ahead and log in. We have 36 members currently. Once you go ahead and join the club, you can sign up for a tiny bit of woo, a woo-tastic plan, a woo-tacular plan. The Out of This Woo plan, the Woo Has Landed plan, and Making Dave Woozy plan. Either one of those going over to our Space Travelers Club at Patreon. Come on, guys, let's get it. Let's get it together. Remember, join Space Travelers Club. And I just wanted you guys to see that because we don't ever show you, but I wanted to make sure that we showed you what it is that we actually have over there. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. Now, what we're going to do at this moment is go ahead and jump into the Spaced Out Radio, the S.O.R time machine, so we can go ahead and see what was in the week of S.O.R. So let's jump right into it. We're going to go ahead and take a look at this. Let me get this off the screen. And
But it's strange because these creatures seem to always get so close, but never into that personal aspect, never into that personal space. And yet here we are with this creature literally tearing up this guy's house from inside. I mean, that is just so abnormal.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. It really doesn't. I don't know why it did that. I don't know what sparked it. I don't know if it was a territorial thing. I don't know if it was the fact that he did see it and it kind of surprised him and he kind of retaliated because of that. But the fact that he did intrude into the house makes one wonder if he'd do something else. Now, I'm keeping a tight lookout in that area to see if anything else is coming up. I don't necessarily want to go to the local law enforcement and find out they're getting reports, but at some point I may very well kind of do it kind of covertly and see if there anything was reported. But I am in contact with one of the people involved with the preserve area. It's Patuxent. It's outside of Clarksville, Maryland, for people who know the area. But it's Patuxent Preserve, and it's kind of a community thing, and it's got a lot of walking areas and parks and such, and hiking. So I don't know. I don't know if people are seeing it or there's been other evidence coming about, but hopefully we will get some more evidence.
What stands out for you about this case?
Oh, and the obvious why it came in house. I mean, you just don't hear that, and you just don't hear them being aggressive at all. They normally try to keep a low profile and try to keep from going into areas where they don't know, from what we can tell or what I have, gathered from other reports. And the fact that this thing busted into that house, not knowing what was going to happen to it, that something sparked it. And, that's what I want to find out. But no, it's very unusual. I've only ever had one person be chased by one of these things. That happened not far from me up in Micho State Forest, just west of Gettysburg, where a woman and her husband were staying in an area called Dead Woman's Hollow. As a matter of fact, that was the name of the area. They got a lot of cabins and stuff around there. And they heard something at night, and they didn't know what it was. She went out in the morning to do something, and this thing jumped out of the bushes and chased her back into the cabin.
So as I said, my sister has these two little dogs, and one of the dogs is always sick, always ill, always having to go to the vet and get some kind of medicine, had all kinds of allergies, had to take allergy shots, everything else. So my sister worked, and she would bring in the little dogs, put them in bed with my mother, and they would stay there most of the day, and they'd hop down occasionally to go get something to eat or drink or whatever, and then go back, and my mother would pick them up, put them back in bed. So I had been out doing something, I don't know, and I came in, made myself a sandwich, sitting there in the dining room, said hi to Mom, made myself a sandwich and sit down. And I heard one of the dogs jump down off the bed and start coming down the hallway into the dining room area there. So I turned my head to the right to look over my right shoulder, look at the doorway to watch the little dog come into the dining room. And he came in, and I spoke to him, and he was walking behind me going toward the kitchen. We had their food and water bowls in there, so he was going there to get something to eat or drink or whatever. So as he walked behind me, I turned my head to the left to watch him continue to walk into the kitchen. And when I turned my head to the left, there was this woman standing there, bent down with her face about 2 feet away from mine. And it startled me, didn't scare me, but it startled me. And I jumped up, knocked my chair over, threw my sandwich, which fortunately landed on the table. So I still got to eat my sandwich. And the woman immediately vanished. And I can tell you what she looked like, how she was dressed, what she had on. She was that solid and that real and came through that strongly. So, of course, it scared the death out of the little dog. He skittered into the kitchen, and I picked my chair up. My mother said, "What happened? What was that?" I said, "Well, I just saw a ghost, and it startled me, and I knocked my chair over." And this was normal, everyday affair in our lives. This is how I grew up, and this is how we live. And she said, "Oh, well, was there any message from the ghost?" And in a split second time, I realized that there was, and I realized I couldn't tell my mother, couldn't tell my sister, because it would break their heart. And this is what the woman communicated to me in that split second that I saw her. She said that the little dog was going to die in a couple of weeks, and she was following him around to comfort him, to get him used to her, and for us to know that she was going to cross him over so that he wouldn't cross over by himself, and that she was going to take care of him in the transition. So sure enough, a couple of weeks later, the little dog died in his sleep. And as a lot of families do, we buried our pets in the yard, our deceased pets in our yard. So, like I say, he was a little small dog. And one of the things that he loved, he had this big green squeaky frog toy that he played with. And then there was this bathrobe that my sister had given him. And he liked to wrap his toys up in that and lay in it and sleep in it and do all this. So she said, well, I'll wrap him up in this bathrobe and we'll put the frog toy in there. That was his favorite toy. So a little small dog like that, when you're wrapping him up in a bathrobe, you roll it up and fold it over, roll it up and fold it over, roll it up and fold it over. So this is a really solid compressed package that there's no way anything's escaping, getting out of or whatever, anything like that. And she put the frog in next to his body. So all that's wrapped up. We go in the backyard, dig a hole and bury him in the hole. And then we fill it in. And I put a large rock over the hole so no predators will dig him up or anything like that. And so much time has gone by now that the grass has completely grown over his grave. The yard is solid. The lawn is solid. If you didn't know where he was buried, you'd never know there had been a hole dug there. Wouldn't know there was a grave there. The grass is just pristine. The lawn is just immaculate. You wouldn't know there's anything there. So I'm out walking one day and I come up the driveway and my sister's not home. She's at work. And as I come up the driveway, I stop at the pen and say hello to Elsa, my Doberman, and visit with her a little bit. And then I'm walking up the driveway to go in the house. And I look over in the backyard and there's something on the lawn in the backyard. And I'm like, what in the world is that? So I walk over there, and on the little dog's grave is sitting that green squeaky frog toy.
Fun. We've officially hit peak woo. We are going for mega woo in this hour. Kimberly, thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. Let us see where we go here, because I know the audience has a ton of questions that I'm going to try and get in some of them a little bit later on. My labs, military abductions. This is something where I learned all about this from Lorian Fenton and Melinda Leslie and Misha Johnson. They have had major encounters with this. My good friend Samantha Mowat has dealt with this as well. I'm very curious regarding your thoughts on this, but first break it down for our audience who may not know.
So again, I have a different opinion because I run thousands of scans with my technology, and they're 100% accurate on everything else. So why wouldn't they be 100% accurate on this? And what we're finding is 99.9% of everybody, man, woman, child, pets, everybody is being abducted by the military. It's the nature of the game. So this is how I explain it. If you go to the store and you buy Call of Duty and you come back to your little PlayStation or whatever, and you pop it in and you're like, oh crap, I thought it was going to be Little Pony and castles and little bunnies and sparkly fairies. I didn't know it was a war game. You have to know what game you're playing. This is a hell realm nightmare level game. It used to be 3D. Now we're at 4.2D. Kind of shaky if we're going to make it to 5D. It's a game within a game within a game within a game, but it's always how, people are like, why do people suffer? Why do animals suffer? Why do people? Because that's the nature of the game that you are in. Some of you paid to be here. This is the thing that people don't know. There's pods in a lot of these ships that, are in orbit and outside of orbit and in the upper dimensions. And people pay equivalent to billions of dollars in US money or Canadian dollars to come and play this game. It is the most popular game next to a couple others I could tell you about because there's other game realms.
What is it like, though, when you are trying to move and you can't? Your arms aren't working, your fingers and legs aren't working, your torso isn't moving, and all you have is control. Like, did you have control of your mouth? Could you talk?
I had control of my eyes, but I guess everything is like you try to move your arm, but the connection just isn't turning on. The connection isn't snapping. Like the signal's just not going there. And everything, your entire being feels like dead weight. That's just how I can best describe it. If I'm like, if I could, spell it out as best I can for yourself in the audience, it's just sort of like everything just feels dead. Like there's no signals going to it, even if you try to will yourself to it. That's why a lot of people describe it as, I had to quote unquote will myself out of it, because you have to sort of, force yourself psychologically to make those synapse connections so that way everything can light up again,
Right.
and then finally move.
How now, a lot of times when we have an experience, it seems to go forever, but in reality, it's only maybe 5, 10, 15 seconds. How long did this last for you?
I'd say it was very short. I'd say about like maybe at most 15, maybe at least 5 minutes, just looking around, going about, doing about their thing. Cause they were pretty thorough. They would like, cause I had like a walk-in closet, and they would open the door to that. And then when they would open the interdimensional closets, which was like a sliding door closet, they would go through that as well, just, like put coats and stuff like that aside, and then look around, and then every now and then check to make sure that I'm not moving. And then, and then once they were done or satisfied, or I guess I started to feel the connections I felt the synapses start to reconnect, that I could move. And that's when I think they were alerted and left. Because as I was started to feel, as myself start to get up, so to speak, or at least have the ability that I could get up, then it was like, okay, then they showed themselves out, ironically seconds before I made that final connection that I could move. So I couldn't even chase them out, because by the time I did get up, they were reasonably long gone.
Keith, how many of the feline races do you remember or know or have met?
Four that I can think of off the top of my head. 5. And there's a sixth one that it's a toss-up whether it's feline or rodent, but that's because of its appearance. And no, they are not mainstreamers. But I will tell you, the one race that stands out are Laborians. Laborians are they look human, aside from the fact they happen to be hirsute in many cases, and their life cycle, they live, and if they don't get killed, they live about 360,000 years, 360,000 Terran years. I believe. Nope, that's wrong. That is definitely the wrong number. But I do know the calculation for it.
And what is that calculation?
365. Starts out at 365,000 times approximately 40 years. An older one means you're looking at the average Laborian. An older Laborian will live as much as 14 billion 600 million years.
Well, from the missing to the mysterious, let's head over to the UFO report. Time for Little Timmy Senor.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
Going to start off with a little sad news here, because little Timmy Senor, he's getting so busy during his real life away from Spaced Out Radio, that we are now searching for his replacement. And Tim will be here until we find that person to take over the UFO report. I don't like it. Don't like it whatsoever, because who am I going to do this to? But it's one of those things, Tim, where sometimes you get busy, man. And, I don't want it to be a surprise for our audience or anything like that. But, you've got some really cool things coming down the pipe that need your attention, and including your family. And I don't like looking for replacements, put it that way.
Yeah, and it's been so much fun, and your audience is amazing, and I'm definitely not gone for good. I'm sure I'll be around to fill in whenever needed, but yeah, life happens, and I just don't have enough time to commit what it takes to deliver a good report. And so I'm sure you'll find someone fun and interesting to replace, as you always do, and the show will go on.
It always goes on, my man. It always goes on, and we'll definitely find someone. No, I want to say a big thank you for everything that you have brought to Spaced Out Radio. And Tim, I've gained a very good friend in you, a very, very good friend. I don't have a lot of friends outside of this, as you know, and you're one of the very true good guys who's trying to do it right in this field. And I want you to know, and I want our audience to know what you mean to me, because it's the position that you do is very hard. Finding someone who will come in a third hour late at night to come on in and do this and still is extremely upbeat and positive and pushing this in a direction, keeping our audience up to date with what's going on, not just on the YouTube side, but our radio side and everything. And I know you got a lot of projects. People need to know you're somebody who is always working their butt off to try and bring stories to the table. And it's not just on here. It's your documentaries that you want to make, your television shows that you are working on, and you're editing, and you take care of your family. And you are somebody, the one thing I love about you, man, you never get too high, you never get too low. And for somebody like me, who is all over the board like a roller coaster, you've brought a real semblance of peace and of mind to me. And that's been a real stabilizing venture for me. So I think it's really cool, man. I think it's really cool, the kind of person you are. And the other thing that I want to say about Tim is he is somebody who has grown a lot in doing this. He started off very nuts and bolts, that it can't be anything else. And he has used this episode, or his time with us, as a learning experience about everything from what is being covered above what's being said, to opening his own mind to possibilities that shouldn't actually work. You can't put a round ball in a square peg, or a square peg in a round hole, pardon me. And yet Tim's realizing that in this field, it's possible.
All right. That was the S.O.R week in review. We had some ups, we had some downs, we had some highs, we had some lows, we had some laughs, and we had some tears, man. We had some sad times. Shout out to Tim Senor, though. That's my guy. We all know that he'll always be a part of Spaced Out Radio family. He will be in the background. He will be in the chat. And yeah, that was Spaced Out Radio this past week in review. Yeah, Rex shedding tears, man. We are too, man. So, yeah, gosh, how do we go on from there? All right. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. So what we're going to do now, we actually have our guest of the night. He's going to be sitting with us for a while. He's going to be talking to us about some things. So I would like to go ahead and bring on our guest, Mr. Brad Olsen. And
hey, Mr. Rob G. How's it going, mate? Nice to talk to you.
All right. Let's get this round of applause, a standing ovation out the way for the man of the hour. All right, Brad. So I was looking into your profile, right? And it shows, and I would like for you to go into detail. It shows that you're an author, a lecturer, publisher, and founder of CCC Publishing in Weird Street Faire in San Francisco, California. Wondering if you could kind of enlighten us on the things that you are into, and then maybe eventually how that ties into the woo, and we can go from there.
Yeah, big question there, Mr. Rob G. I'll try to jump into each one real briefly. Yes, I have a publishing business called CCC Publishing, where my Esoteric Series of books can be found, along with other authors such as Michael Jaco, Leo Lion-Zagami, Lon Milo DeCat, all big names in the esoteric field. And this is what really interests me, because this is, to me, the most important things we can endeavor to learn. And that is everything that has been kept from humanity. And that's where the good stuff really lies. So I've done this 3-book series, working on a 4th, just chronicling all the subjects that have been kept from humanity. And it really ranges the gauntlet, but it also corresponds with my interest and ability to travel the world, and had the great opportunity of going to all 7 continents, including Antarctica, about 5 years ago. Wow. So with firsthand knowledge, I can tell you stories about just about any place in the world, but also how they also merge with some of these esoteric subjects. So for example, if you were to talk about Egypt, it'd be hard not to bring up the Great Pyramids and all the different functions of that, even how it was constructed, new chambers being found. And I even had the opportunity to climb to the top of it in 1993. You're not supposed to do that. Youthful indiscretion, not recommending it, but I got away with it. But not just getting away with it. I love to just see and explore new places, pay admission to go, do it the right way, and build a worldview that way, a big picture, so to speak. And that's why I guess I'm in a unique position with my ability to travel, and then also in writing and publishing, to put this information out there. And I do it just as a gift to humanity. That's what I'm here for. That's what I love to do, including speaking at conferences. So that's my bio in a nutshell, Mr. Rob G, and it's spoken in a different way.
And I love it. And I love that you pointed out and you mentioned that your focus is doing things for humanity, because I believe in that totally 100%. Actually, I consider myself like a pro-humanitarian, and everything that I do is to help lead humanity down a positive path. So I like that. And I guess what is your outlook on humanity as far as where we're at? And obviously there's so many problems and things that we know of. What is your view, and like, what is your goal on where are you trying to direct humanity?
Well, I think we're going to pull through this. It's not a world ending situation. We have been duped in many ways to believe what so many different authority figures, from teachers, really cradle to grave indoctrination, to the government as well as the mass media, have just been distorting reality in such a way that we believe this false matrix, that this is what we're here on earth for, is to get up in the morning, go to work, have a couple hours to relax, go to sleep, have something to eat in between, and then get up and do it all over again. And I've just seen through this matrix from the beginning, and just, I'm out of here. I'm going to backpack around Europe, which is the first trip I did out of college. And then I got the opportunity of being an English teacher in Japan for 14 months, self-financed all my travels. And that one, I went around the world. I was out of the country for 3 years. I'll tell you, Mr. Rob G, that travel experience was the most important lessons in my life. It just shaped the person who I am as a young man in his 20s, backpacking around the world, and then coming out of it with a worldview and seeing what the world is like on the other side. And there are a lot of people that live in very unfortunate circumstances with a whole lot less than we do. But I tell you this, the paradox is the poorer the people, the closer they are together. They live multi-generationally. So the children are there with the parents, with the grandparents, even the great-grandparents. Sometimes they respect the elders. And sometimes the poorest people of the world are also the most hospitable and the most generous. They'll invite you in to have tea, and they just want to practice their English or see a foreigner and find ways to communicate, or you could show them your device, and they're really in that sometimes too. So it's just an eye-opening experience, and I really just felt a very strong attraction to this planet, to this human race, to what it is that I could do that could be beneficial, that could make a difference. And so this is what I chosen professions into book publishing, writing, publishing other authors, including Leo Zagami, 5 books on CCC Publishing, and soon to be Laura Eisenhower. Her new book,
Nice.
Awakening to the Truth Frequency, will be out this spring. And it's exciting to work with people like this. And then I also produced the Weird Street Faire in San Francisco. We just did our 24th annual, and that's 12,000 people dancing in the streets. It's a good way to bring people together. And that's what the Dalai Lama said. If you want to help foster world peace, you can make festival. And then in this documentary, the guy's like, oh, I'll make a festival, Dalai Lama. Would you like to come? No, I don't want to come. But you bring people together and they will come, and then they will have a good time. So I like to do a whole bunch of different cool projects of my choosing. I do get booked up with publishing, pretty much backed up until 2025. So unfortunately, a lot of great manuscripts come my way. I just don't honestly have the time or bandwidth to get too involved, although I have a team of people that I work with. We just got to focus on doing really good books, only 1 or 2 per year. Michael Jaco's Awakening of a Warrior just came out October 1st, 1 month ago. And Laura's book will be out on March 1st next year. So want to get those done. And then I've got another one of my own in the works on Antarctica, which I'm going to shoot for 2025, plus the second edition to Beyond Esoteric, which is actually my latest book, but so much new information has happened since 2019, right, Mr. Robji? The world's kind of changed right before our very eyes. So a lot of updated information I want to get in there too.
Oh man, awesome. And I'm glad to hear all this, because like I say, I think the same way. And I have to get to the next party. So next time you guys throw that party out there, it's in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, May 4th. We're going to do it on International
May 4th.
Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you, right in downtown San Francisco. 25th annual. That's how long we've been doing it.
I will be there. I like the fact that you like bringing people together and breaking down barriers. It's kind of sad, right? Because just like you said, we plug into a machine, into a society that we didn't create, that we were kind of born into this system, this machine. And, we're so busy with that so we don't usually get a chance to step back and take a breath and really see the situation that we're in as humanity. Dealing with this, and I don't know how far you go into like UFOs and things of that nature, but being that humanity is faced with such a humanity changing, influencing moment, and we have like really that chance right now to we're at that fork in the road where whatever we decide to do as a group, as humanity, will take us this way or take us that way. What is your outlook on that, and what is your hope on the other side of disclosure or confirmation?
Well, that's why I think we're going to pull through this, because the big revelation to humanity, this moment we've heard called disclosure, when the people of the world realize we've never been alone, but that they're here and they do want to have a relationship with us on a peaceful level. Okay, so it's really important to distinguish the different kinds of ETs. And I really break it down to really just two. And it doesn't matter what they look like, what their skin color is, if they have scales or slit eyes. The only two things that are important to understand are they in service to self, and then they have an agenda, and then they do abductions and cattle mutilations. They're serving their own agenda. Or are they service to others? Are they here to help and uplift humanity? And that's who I would say we as a human race need to side with. But we've got a dilemma here on this planet, and it's even called the Earth dilemma. And that is, we have been ruled by these dark overlord forces for quite some time now. And only until in our lifetimes have we had the ability to really see who and what they are and what their agenda is and what they want to do with the human race, where they want to lead us. And I think it's pretty obvious to everybody now that's a very dark path. And that could also be one that leads to great loss of Earth lives. So, of course, we want to mitigate that damage, but we also have to understand what we're up against. And that's this malevolent ET force. And they have done a lot of damage. They continue to do damage. They fan the flame. They get humans to do the dirty work. I call them the cutouts, the people, the humans who have sold out. I wasn't a religious person growing up, Mr. Rob G, but I'll tell you, I kind of know what making a deal with the devil means now. And the devil, to me, are these reptilian ETs, and they're more than happy to give you what you need, what you want, what you desire. Why do you think so many of them do the Illuminati crap? Celebrities, they're cutouts. Politicians, they're all compromised. Look at Epstein Island. That's as far as you need to go with that. How come they haven't released the client list? They'd rather blow up the planet than release the client list. So we're dealing with psychopaths who are the cutouts for these extraterrestrial species. Now, Rob, I just came back from a really great conference in Orlando, Florida. Spoke in front of 750 people. Fantastic event called the Galactic and Spiritual Informers Connection. And we had Alex Collier was there. And Alex and I have been colleagues for a number of years. And we speak about what's going on in the world and where we're at with our state of connection with the benevolent ETs who are here to help us. And by the way, there are so many of them watching us now. Earth is the greatest show in the universe. What we're doing here on this planet as humans as surface guardians to ourselves or to facilitate this connection is very important. Now, Alex said at the conference, and he did again last year, but it was just coming into the big picture, that in 2021, 22, all of the malevolent ETs have been taken off of planet Earth, at least the ones that were doing a lot of damage. And I'm very interested to hear if people want to have a counter perspective. Please let me know. I'm checking out the chats here now. And he said that through his connections through the Andromedians, ever since 9/11, it went to the council. And this was the source of great fascism and tyranny throughout the solar system and our Milky Way galaxy. In 350 years from now, we would be a total menace, just like in the movie Avatar, that we would be exploiting planets and taking out less technically adapt. But that's illegal. That goes against the Prime Directive. That is a real universal law. So what the Andromedians are doing is working through people who are contactees like Alex Collier and giving him vital information. So what happened was on 9/11/2001, false flag operation. By the way, still no justice for those victims, nor any of the other false flags. So you know there's still a dark agenda at hand. They're still in control. Look, they're chemtrailing the skies all day outside here today. And as James Gilliland from East City Ranch says, totally agree with him. As long as you see them chemtrailing the skies, there's still a dark agenda in control. Okay, so we're in it, but we're the foot soldiers down here, and we're communicating with each other, and we're informing the troops. And the information that I got out of GSIC through Alex Collier is for the very first time in human history, for just not even in 2 years, humans have been free of malevolent ET overt influence. And so right now, the period is, one, the elites don't have their fourth dimensional shadow cover, because that's basically how they were operating, how they got so much power. That's making the deal with the devil. And those cutouts became fabulous, wealthy, famous, mansions, everything they want, and a lot of dark secrets that go along with that island in the Caribbean. It's not the only one. There were others, but that's the most notorious. So that's the level that they went as these elite, getting what they wanted. But now they don't have that fourth dimensional backup. They don't have the cover. And so they're very exposed right now, more exposed than they've ever been. And this is very exciting because for the very first time, we're having the Great Awakening. And average just about anybody who's paying attention, which is seeing that we've been sold down the river of falsities. Voltaire had the great quote in the 19th century that history is the Mississippi of lies. It's just made up by the winners, okay? So much in history has been absolutely altered. So the good stuff is hidden away. And this goes for who we are as people on this planet, and so much evidence that we've been this high-tech civilization for a very, very long time, but that's been covered up, as well as the giants and so much more. So they like to keep us in a cookie cutter mold of consciousness. So we don't really question the overlords, their power. We're getting this backup from the fourth D, but are now eliminated. So now it's up to the humans. This is why it's such a beautiful period of time. So we can see the history for what it is. We can come together as people for who we are, and I think facilitate a real and meaningful world peace in the next decade. But we have to be united in so much that we got to stop these senseless conflicts. We can't have humans killing humans anymore. It just has to end. There has to be a ceasefire in the Middle East right now. This cannot get out of control. But these psychopaths want to get it out of control. They believe in the literal translation of the Bible that there has to be this Armageddon, and Gog and Magog are killing each other. And even Albert Pike, the Freemasonic during the Civil War, even prophesies all 3 world wars in the 19th century, decades before World War I broke out. Now over a century before World War III. And he said it was mainly to inflame the Jewish state and the Muslims, and they would mutually destroy each other. And then America would get sucked in. Of course, Russia and China would get sucked in. There you are, you're in World War III. Nothing good at all will come of this. But fortunately, the benevolent ETs have made it very clear that they will not allow a full-scale nuclear attack on each other. That's not going to happen. We're not going to see the missiles crossing over the Arctic Ocean at America and China and Russia. It's not going to happen. A dirty bomb could slip through. That's a big problem, or another biological release. Because this deep state, they have their back against the wall right now. They're more exposed than they've ever been. And this is going to be the moment when the most spectacular collapse in human history is starting to happen right before our very eyes. All the institutions on this planet that have held control of the human race are crumbling down and falling like a house of cards. You're going to see organized religion go down. You're going to see our financial system go down. You're going to see governments go down. But in the meantime, we've got very well-armed militaries that could do a lot of damage. So we also have to be very mindful that there are very powerful weapons out there that can do a lot of destruction. So it's just an amazing time to be alive. I think everybody, all your listeners, are very sophisticated about what I'm saying here and understand that we all play a small role, whatever we do in life. Look, you didn't even have to be on shows or write books or go speak at conferences. All you have to do to help win this is use your consciousness and be a part of those who visualize a bright future. a Star Trek future. Star Trek was who we were supposed to be, Mr. Rob G. Gene Roddenberry, he was sitting in with the Council of Nine in the 1950s, and they were speaking to Earth humans 350 years in their future. That's 300 years from right now. And getting downloads of what a peaceful human race could do, and that is exploring the universe like they did in Star Trek, benevolently, not like Avatar. So these movies, they are predictive programming, and they are telling us the good side and the bad side of what we could potentially do. But I choose the good.
Man, yeah, you're speaking a lot of great stuff, man. I like it. And the Great Awakening, I like that too, because this is the time in consciousness is going to be key for sure. So I agree with all those points that you're making here. My whole thing is that, you know, because this is what I do every day. I think of exactly this in ways that we can get everyone together to, in this moment, to wake up as a whole and take control of what the next steps are in our future. And you know, we're running right up against the end of the hour, so we actually take a 5-minute break. So, but I did want to ask you, like, you know, I fight with the thoughts, you know, of how to get large groups of people, because this whole thing, obviously, as you've stated and we know, is designed to keep us segregated so that we can't come together as one in one momentous movement to go ahead and take that big step, the step that you're talking about. What I know that, you know, the key definitely is for each person to realize they have the ability to play a part, and then it comes down to consciousness. But stepping past that, what would be like a tangible, you know, physical something that someone can do in life, like tomorrow, to go ahead and help move the needle?
Great question. Well, you could share this video for people that are kind of on the fence, or normies who are just moving over, and give them a glimpse of what's going on in the exopolitical world. But as far as each individual, that's why I say you don't really even have to get involved physically. But if you just think in a positive way that this is the future you want to have for yourself, for your kids, ancestors, even people around the world. Look, we're one human family. And once we realize that, there could never be any war anymore. There could never be hurting another person, because I am another yourself. What I do to you, I'm doing to myself. And this is what I call the philosopher's stone. This is when you come to the realization that your thoughts become your actions, become who you are as a person. And when you do that, and you're hurtful or harming, or God forbid, hurt, killing, and maiming someone, you will definitely have to feel that. If you put that violence upon someone else, and I think it even goes for animals too, you might have to come back and be that cat you abused and go through that. You may have to come back and be that person that you killed in a past lifetime and be killed in that same very way. These are the laws of karma, and this is the law of attraction. And what we bring into our world is basically what manifests. Our minds are incredibly powerful if we know how to use them precisely. And in the same way that somebody could be very paranoid all the time, and perhaps they did do something wrong, and they should be paranoid that the cops are going to kick in their door and arrest them, or somebody that they did wrong to is going to come back and get revenge. That's paranoia. But the opposite of paranoia is called pronia. And that is the sneaking suspicion that the universe is conspiring on your behalf. And when you put good into the world and you do good things for other people, the whole pay it forward concept, that's pronia. Then you will have good things coming back your way, and life will become much easier. You will find that you live in a land of abundance. And indeed, this whole planet has more resources than any of us could consume. And once we release free energy, we can have desalination plants and turn the planet back into a garden, as it should be. We can clean up all the trash and all the mess, all the floating plastics in the oceans. They call the gyres. Put some robots out there and clean them all up. Right? So we have the potential to turn this around. We're clever beings, humans. We can figure this out. We already have figured it out. We just have a couple roadblocks in the way preventing the full scope of this ascension.
Okay, great answer. We're going to go ahead and pause for a break, and we're going to be right back with Brad Olsen talking about enlightening humanity, getting us to where we need to go, and then maybe even jump into some of his travels and what he's learned. So you guys stick around. We'll be right back for hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. All right, all right. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 2 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. And joining me is Brad Olsen, our amazing guest for tonight. We're going to go ahead and jump back into our conversation in just a moment here. Talking humanity. We're talking some deep stuff, and really what's really important, should be important to us all in this moment in time. But before we jump into that, to all the space travelers out there, consider taking the next step. Like I showed you earlier, you can join the Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 by joining our Patreon, and you can get some official Spaced Out swag, because we don't have ugly swag at spacedoutradio.com. All right, so we're going to jump back into the conversation with Brad Olsen here, talking some good stuff and really important stuff, truthfully, and just kind of getting back into it. The thing that I have the most trouble with, because it's a huge task, especially when you're thinking about it on your own and how you can, as an individual, affect the bigger cause. And one of the things that I run into is it's not necessarily the people that we already have in our circle or in our vicinity who already understand this way of thinking and and are tapped into consciousness. It's really the ones that are stuck in that machine that we talked about earlier, that are pretty much programmed to do what it is that the powers that be say to do. And it's about waking those people up. So the people who don't get it, the people who don't understand that this is our moment in time to get things together. So how do you propose that we wake those people up? Because I think those are the ones that are going to be the hardest to reach in this moment.
Yeah, and everybody wakes up at their own pace. You really can't try to force it on anybody, but the cracks are really starting to form in so much that it's becoming really obvious that the media especially, it's just so bad, so fake, so nonsense, that the people who do continue to watch it have a very warped understanding of reality, and they think things like Taylor Swift choosing a warm sweater because it's fall on Good Morning America, that's somehow news, that can somehow pass as something that'll help you better your life. Oh, well, gee, maybe I should try a new sweater because Taylor Swift said so. You just realize this is mental popcorn, and it's a big distraction, because they don't want people to have conversations like this where you can actually learn something and come away a better person and more informed. So it's really an individual task. I do believe it's up to each and every one of us to set goals for ourselves that we want to better ourselves. I try to learn something new every day. I like to travel to new places every day if I can, and just keep that curiosity going. When it really goes deep in the rabbit hole on subjects that your guest and your hosts on Spaced Out Radio talk about all the time, and I've been on Dave a couple times, this is what is really happening in the world today. And understanding the exopolitical sides to all this. What are the motives from them, from us? How much do we know? How much can we be told? How much can we figure out? You see, the internet has been the great equalizer. There's nothing like it in human history. It was said for 500 years the Gutenberg press was revolutionary, and it was, because then all of a sudden a population became literate. Do you know 500 years ago, nobody could read? The only way you would understand your world is if you went to church and you were given a sermon in a language that you could mostly understand. Many times those sermons in early Europe were in Latin and nobody understood anything. And that was the whole point. They didn't want a citizenry of thinking people, right? Even John D. Rockefeller, who funds all these university projects, this might be a little conflict of interest, when he said, I don't want a population that thinks. I need a population of workers, and his assembly lines. So that's kind of the way the globalists try to keep us in the box and play out their game. See, because if we go along with it, if we do the bidding, it's this cultic practice of getting those who you can get to build the construct of their own prisons in many ways. So if we go along with the next lockdown, if we go along with more homeland security restricting our movement and travel, we got a big problem on our hands, because then they're going to enforce one of our most basic human rights, and that's the ability to move and travel freely. So we're up against a behemoth. I mean, I don't want to sugarcoat this in any way. This cabal, this deep state is far from being done. They're being exposed, and that's a good thing. And I think for helping others on the fence to just show the hypocrisy, show the lies in the mainstream media to those who are considering. And maybe this is really the fight right now, is to get all the people that are kind of on our side, but still have their grasp in the old ways of thinking. Once you sever the tie, it's like Pandora's box. Once you open it up, you can never put it back in. And that's true with free thinkers. Everybody has what I would call a 9/11 moment. When was that period when you figured out, oh my goodness, it's all one big scam? And anybody who's a free thinker knows that 9/11 was a big false flag operation to get the U.S. into wars in the Middle East and so many other things. And it took me a couple years. But then once you start seeing through the false flags, they become so patently obvious, laughably obvious. And that's the cool thing about waking up to all this, is that you start to see these alternative agendas. It's always the problem, reaction, solution to take us into whatever new desire of the globalists want to have. And once again, it looks like taking us into war. No thanks. Nobody wants that, but they need it, because this is they're always their escape is start a war, get both sides in on it. Oh, and then finance both sides too. So no matter who wins, they come out smelling like roses. It's just so insidious, and this whole system has to come crashing down. It absolutely does. Yeah. And the way it does is by us waking up. The revolution is consciousness. It really is. And helping those people nicely along the way. There's no I told you so. It's just, don't you think it's ironic that we're being sold a lie on what was Ukraine a couple months ago? Now it's the other place. And I don't want to get this channel in trouble, but there's so many things right now that are just so obviously false, that are pushing an agenda without the kind of truth and transparency we'd expect in an American government, which is enshrined in our Constitution. And a lot of people are still in that trap. I know a lot of liberal intellectual friends I have in the San Francisco Bay Area still can't believe that NPR would play any kind of propaganda. Well, look, propaganda has been legal in this country for over a decade. They put it in the riders in the NDAA, and it got signed into law. Big one on 2012 on New Year's Eve, when they knew nobody was going to read it and everybody was out partying. And now the mainstream media can legally lie to you. Way to go, guys. It's just like William Colby was a CIA director, and then Ronald Reagan took office. I kind of liked Ronald Reagan. I think he was a pretty fair guy. They did try to shoot him and almost got him away with it. But he was disabled after that. And then Bush Sr., Pappy from the CIA Skull and Bones lineage, he got it. He pretty much ruled the second term of Reagan, then got one term of his own. And then the son was a clone, which is a knockoff of Poppy Bush, or same agenda, I should say. Then we got 9/11. So when they continue to do these things and then get people to join the military and go off and fight in Afghanistan and Iraq under false pretenses, it starts to affect people's lives. And I think those people are more inclined to cross the fence now because they've had harm done to them. They've seen the inconsistencies and the lies and the misdirections all over the place, and know that This isn't the way it should be. This is why you're putting your life on the line for your country, right? You need some very solid moralistic grounds to do that. And to ask people otherwise on false pretenses, as that we know there was no weapons of mass discussion, but how many people our age ran to join up because, oh, we're going to fight these terrorists, this invisible enemy in a war you could never win. You know, that was what Werner von Braun was the first thing he told his assistant, Carol Rosen. And yeah, Werner von Braun, paperclip Nazi from Germany, came over here, started NASA, told them how to build the Mercury rockets and the Apollo rockets. And he did change over to America. And I think in the end, he had a change of heart. He decided he actually loved this country. And he told his assistant, Carol Rosen, who I've seen at conferences, and her story never changes, that we would go through these different periods in the upcoming decade. So he would have said this to her, I think, early 1980s. And he said, the first enemy is going to be this enemy that you'll never defeat because you can never get rid of it. And it's called the War on Terror. And that's exactly what we saw. And you can't defeat the War on Terror. You could never win. It's impossible because it's an invisible enemy. Pretty clever if you think about the problem, reaction, solution on that one. And we all fell for it, sure. But then let's just go on with Werner von Braun. Then he said then there would be a threat from outer space, maybe an asteroid coming to the Earth. And then wouldn't we come together as human race to try to shoot a laser and blow it up? So then we could show off our space toys and space lasers and direct do weapons and so much like that. Then, and this was also according to a CIA whistleblower who said in 1989, he's since passed away, another deathbed confession, both him and Werner von Braun said that there would be a fake alien invasion all around the world. Very realistic, using holograms, but also using some hardware and lighten up the sky, and there'd be collateral damage. But they both said that this was the initiation into full global government, new world order, total fascism, lockdown of the planet, if they get away with it. That's how high the stakes are. And the CIA guy said it's slated for the year 2024. That's only a couple of months away. And my colleague, Sasha Stone, has just came on and said his contact with a very high up at the Vatican, who says it's a total rotten apple with every other bishop around him. His informant said that they're going to pull something off at the Summer Olympics in Paris, 2024. This could be this holographic space alien attack. Now, that's only one part of it. And I do highlight and write about this in my book, Future Esoteric. There's a whole outline of this in much more detail, just trying to hit the salient points here. But there is also the second coming of your religious deity. And I think that's what they might pull off at Paris. So Jesus comes down from the sky. In Arab countries, Mohammed. Out in Asia, the Buddha in the sky. In India, there's Shiva and Vishnu and a couple thousand gods that appear. And with voice to skull technology, what do you know? They can even make them talk. And you'll hear it like you're hearing someone speaking to you. That technology is not only here, it's been around for over a decade. So they have the ways and the means to do it. Look, as long as they're spraying the chemies, there's a dark agenda at hand. And spraying the chemies has actually several purposes. Not only can it be used in a military context, weather warfare, or spraying it as chaff like cover. And sometimes a weatherman guy will be like, yeah, I used to be in the military and we spray chaff. That's what that is. Those are chemtrails. They're spraying them out of planes. But it's also a way of dispersing particulate matter, such as nanobots. This is also a way that different viruses and pathogens could be spread. But it also puts very tiny particulate matter in the atmosphere that doesn't always fall. fact, we just saw a big cloud today come out of California into Nevada, and it lingered well into sunset, and it stays in the sky. So what the chemtrailing agenda has done is made our atmosphere conductive. And for the very first time, there are metallic particle matters, which would facilitate the holographic sky show, by the way. I think we're going to see a ramp up of chemtrail activity all through this year and into next year to create this fake sky. And you can see how they manipulate it with the HARP weapons, these frequency weapons, because these white milky clouds, if you're paying attention, you could watch them just spray them all day. It's absolutely no question, no doubt that they came out of airplanes, they became clouds. Then they hit them with these frequency weapons. It's like the bottom of the ocean where you see the ripples in the sand. Mm-hmm. They do that with the clouds, and then they're steering them, then they're moving them, and then you'll get a storm system come in. So I'm a big skier up in Lake Tahoe. I'm watching the weather all the time. And last winter, world record snowfall at all ski resorts. So the drought should be over, but all these fires keep breaking out because they've killed the forest with the chemis. And this is very alarming because these are tinderboxes, these fires that could sweep through these wildlands, which is part of the 2030 agenda. They do want to get people that live in far-flung places off their land. The Wildlands Projects, it's called, through the UN. And they want to create these corridors where it's just wilderness. Humans sometimes can't even go there, even though it's federal land. So there are all these things that this globalist government has done to set us up for this big moment. And it has to be a big moment on the scale of another 9/11, maybe times 1,000, that big, that lasts for weeks. And it's just a series of false flags. And then the big space war goes down, and please, government, save us, help us. And then the Messiah shows up. After a while, he says, go to your nearest FEMA camp. You need to check in there, and you'll do your work in Hotel California, where you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. That's what a FEMA camp will be. But what if we were getting that voice to skull technology? And look, they've already done some tests with the Messiah in the sky and the voice to skull. They found it's very effective. People are extremely superstitious. They would believe it in a heartbeat. They know that. They're going to use it. So I just want people to be prepared, because it's very realistic. We'll all probably fall for it to some degree, but I'm just trying to put a little seed in everybody's mind that ultimately it's going to be a false flag.
Yes, and with that being said, I mean, that's a lot, obviously. And you know, in this moment in time, being that we have to do this perfectly, we have to play this perfectly as humanity. So we're going to have all those things to come up against as far as false flags and just the different agendas that are at play. So hopefully we get past that. Hopefully we understand where we need to go and we make it through somehow. So we make it to the other side. So in your eyes, where if once we do get to that other side and we're in this new day or new time for humanity, what would be, just in your opinion, how would things have to change? Like, assuming that we have the ability to restructure society as a whole, what would be that new way that we should try to build, you know, for our future? If you understand what I'm saying.
I do. Yeah. Great question. Well, have you ever heard of Burning Man, or you ever get a chance to go out there?
Always wanted to go, man. I miss it every time.
But you hear about it. Everybody knows about it. A couple of them have made it. But one thing about Burning Man, great thing that they do there for the entire history of it. I published a book called The Tribes of Burning Man. I've been 17 times. I went every year from 95 to 2012. And then I took 11 years off and just went this last year for Flooding Man, but still managed to have a really good time. But the one thing I like about Burning Man is that it's a gift economy. Everything just gets given away. You can't even spend your money. Nobody wants it. It's a joke. And that's really what it is. So I think moving forward, we're going to have to start reconceptualizing the whole need and want for money, because they want to get us in this centralized digital currency. They want to phase out cash. I'm already seeing it. I went to a national recreation area today and it said, on January 1st, 2024, National Park Service not going to accept your cash anymore. You're going to need a card if you want to get in. So we're seeing it happen. It is going on. So what do we do? Well, we got to be prepared, just like anybody. I lived out in California many years right on the fault line. And I was there for the Loma Prieta earthquake. It was a trip. And they always tell you have to be prepared. You have to have freshwater source, probably number one. Because if you have rice and beans, it'd be a boring diet, but you could live for a year on 5 20-pound bags of rice and beans. It would suck. You'd hate it from day one, but it'll keep you alive. So if things really hit the fan, and I do think we need to have a wits about us, because this deep state is not going to go down without kicking, screaming, and throwing everything they got at us, including the kitchen sink. They do want to depopulate. We know that for a fact. And so you got to have your wits about you to stay alive, to duck and dodge your way through the hailstorm of all the different modalities to take out as many as they can. It's already happening. So like California during earthquake preparedness, be prepared, you guys. Give yourself what you need. Look, spend a couple $100 on groceries, canned food, stowaways. If you don't use it, give it to a homeless shelter in 3 years. They'll eat it, but you'll give yourself a peace of mind. So we each have to be individually ready for maybe some dark days. I won't sugarcoat it. I think we're going to have something like an EMP attack. And I saw a comment on the chat just now that we've got all these military age young men streaming over our border. So what if it was a concerted attack on our energy grid? You know how apeshit crazy everybody would go in this country? The power went out for a day or two, or a month, or a year. That's the way we could really have a bad situation here. And I certainly don't want that to happen, not even for an hour. We know that blackouts are very dangerous periods of time, but now people are on edge and a lot of people are just living paycheck to paycheck. So we're being squeezed on every possible way too. Now I understand that a lot of people don't have the resources or are able to move, but I don't think living in a city is going to be a good idea in the next couple months or years. And we already know they're being loaded up like crazy with 5G towers, and that's another modality to hit people. So you got to know your surroundings. You got to have an escape plan, or you got to be somewhere where you don't mind laying low for a while. And I think that's what it's going to take. Internet might go out for a while. Power might go out for a while. But I think we come out of this in the light. I really do. Many people say that the white hats are going to make their big move when these power outages scenarios come into place. So hopefully don't panic if it looks bad, even if there's looting and you hear sirens all over the place. Just don't engage. Hang loose. Be with your friends and family. Play guitar by the campfire. And we start doing that now. We're like, yeah, these are the good old days. And what if this is what we got to do every night? Well, then that won't be so bad. We'll tell stories again like we used to. Look into the fire. That's the old television before it became live vision. Yeah. With subliminal programming fit in to condition the human mind. Boy, has that been going on for a long time. That's what the PSYOPs is all about. I'm just sick of it. We need to have a transparent everything government. And that's what happens when we start to ascend to be in higher self bodies. We'll start to be able to read people's auras. So there won't even be a need for a court or a jury. It's going to be obvious when somebody does something wrong. And then you want to help that person get back on track, right? That's what the Buddhists do. If they have a criminal or someone who keeps stealing, Well, they'll do everything. They'll throw him out of town and say, go somewhere else if he keeps coming back. Then they have to just starve him for a while. And okay, well, if you steal food, you don't get food. And then they learn, okay, I'll be a good member of society. I'll help out. So what I'm saying is collectivism might be the future. Of course, it gets abused, and that's where communism comes from. Communism. You can't go to the extremes with any of this stuff, but you can help your friends out. You can build a community. You can get through the dark times with people you like to hang out with anyways. I mean, isn't it funny? So many times you go out with a group of friends, say to a bar or somewhere. Like, oh yeah, let's go out and we pay all these expensive drinks. We just end up hanging out, talking with each other anyways. We could have done that in your garage. Anyways, you get what I'm saying. But I think we should try to be team players here and glom together with the people you like to hang out with and help each other out.
I agree, man. I agree with like what you're saying is a lot of the same things that I say, and my audience knows this. So it's good to hear someone else speaking the same language. You know, and some years ago, before I was awakened, because I was awakened probably about 5 years ago, just felt a need to do something for humanity, didn't know what it was, and ended up leading me down the path to where I actually am sitting here today doing actually that. So, you know, I used to look at going off of what you just said about being prepared. I used to look at doomsday preppers as just some crazy guys, right? Like, oh, that'll never happen, because I was still programmed and didn't really understand how fragile society is and is currently is. So now, you know, I think on that path on just being prepared, like why not stock up for this or that? Why not have the extra things? Why not have a plan in case, you know, things do hit the fan? And I've even gone as far as to go get like ham radios, right? So now I have ham radios for for multiple situations. So and yeah, I mean, you're talking a good thing. That's definitely what I think people need to do. But and there's also you know, thinking of a new way for us going forward. They have these things, I don't know if you've heard of them, called communes. I think they're called communes, right? Where they're little communities. Where you come in, you just learn a trade, you perform that task for the community, and that pays your way. Right. And that's how we should do across the globe. And I've said this before, so it's just so good to hear you talk about that. But first, let me stop here because I want to make sure that if the viewers have any questions for Brad, please put them in all caps so I can go ahead and get those to him before the end of the hour. Yeah. But with that being said, let's jump into some of your travels, and maybe do you have any good stories for us from some of your, like Antarctica? Is there a hole in the ice there? You know, what are we dealing with over there out that
Yeah, that's the better question than is there an ice wall? There is no such thing as an ice wall.
Right.
There's a continental landmass that has ice on top of it, and bays that get filled with big glaciers that come down, and it's so cold down there they can exist over bays until they break off. And that's what's been confused as the edge of the world to a certain group. I think there's far more credibility in the inner earth, and that doesn't even have to be below the surface. That could be under the ice. I give a talk at conferences called The Hidden Anomalies of Antarctica, and I show people that Antarctica is the most volcanically active continent in the world. There's volcano and fault lines running straight through the continent, and the propensity of opening up huge cavities under the ice is very real. They're already detecting them. There's whole lake systems and rivers and presumably different forms of life that have still yet to be discovered. So it really is the final frontier when it comes to exploring and mapping planet Earth, that and the ocean bottom. is really the last unexplored terrain here on the planet. But then you have the possibility of creating these deep underground military bases, the DUMBs. And there are hundreds of those around the world with train tubes that can travel at Mach 2 speeds. So if you're paying attention to some of these DUMBs and some of the very unusual earthquakes around the world, especially those earthquakes at 10 kilometers down in places that have never had earthquakes, are very unusual, that it's always at that depth. That's at the level that they have the maglev tubes. And around this time, I was telling you 2 years ago, when they were starting to get the last of the malevolent ETs off the planet, one of the final showdowns was in Antarctica. And right around that time, a whole bunch of very anomalous earthquakes took place off the Palmer Peninsula, exactly where we were, big earthquakes, but 10 kilometers down, and all the way up to South America. And then other tubes went to South Africa and New Zealand. Those are the three main continental entry points to get down there. And sure enough, they had these maglev tubes. So the system of transporting underground is being disabled. I wouldn't say it's completely done yet, but Gene Decode does a lot of research on that. And I find his work to be credible, and he has some military inside information and knows about these DUMBs. So the hole in the ice, well, that could be a legacy hole. And I've been able to pinpoint it, about 20, 25 miles from South Pole, which was, by the way, discovered by flight by Admiral Byrd himself in 1929, flew over it. I think he saw the hole in the ice, because then 17 years later, at the beginning of Operation High Jump, he was summoned from Little America to fly back to the South Pole with his radio man and to go into the hole. This was written about in his diary, published by his son after he died. And that's where they were intercepted by flugel rods, which had Nazi insignias on them, and was taken to the domain, was a city under the ice, Admiral Byrd described, and was to meet with the master, who said that they were very upset that we were testing nuclear bombs and had just bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, because Admiral Byrd was so highly decorated. They wished for him to go back to the Pentagon and deliver the message that the Ariani, as they called themselves in the domain, these inner earth beings, were very upset that we had discovered atomic warfare. And Admiral Byrd did that. He was reprimanded for speaking to a journalist on the way back from Operation High Jump. This is just 2 months into the 6-month expedition. And by the way, I just released a 8-part series on Forbidden Knowledge TV, Billy Carson's program, called The Secrets of Antarctica. So I'm very well versed in the history of Operation High Jump, and it's going to appear in my next book called Esoteric Antarctica, telling the real story, the real history that got edited out of our history books, right? Because we got our ass handed to us in the Battle of High Jump. And Admiral Byrd even said that when he went through Chile on the way back. He said, we'll be confronted with an enemy that has the ability to fly pole to pole at incredible speeds.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a formidable enemy right there in 1947, to say that. And as soon as he got back, he was debriefed for quite a while, and certainly given a gag order that he could not speak of it anytime in his life. But he had his son publish his diary talking about going into that big hole in the Arctic ice. And I do believe other whistleblowers' testimony also matches up to that data point, and other ideas of where it was. Even remote viewers have seen it there. And it's interesting, this hole, which is a couple miles across, but about 25 miles from South Pole. So if you worked at South Pole, like my colleague Eric Hecker, and if he's listening to this, he sometimes gives me a hard time for saying that there are data points that suggest there is a hole there. And he said, well, I worked there for a year. I would know. Would you? If there was a HARP array or some top secret establishment 25 miles away from where any of you live, and they weren't announcing it to anyone, would you know? Does that mean it doesn't exist? So we have a difference of opinion there. I think it does exist, and it does show that there is a lot of interest in maintaining the secrecy around this entranceway. Brian S., a whistleblower from Linda Moulton Howe, and I think his information checks out. He said that there was even a road that went down the side of it and deep into it. So you could take a snow track cat out of South Pole and get down there. Isn't it interesting that the NSA, which was the no such agency until they finally admitted they existed, which they're set up in the late 1940s by Truman to study everything extraterrestrial related. And the NSA, isn't it interesting? They have a building at McMurdo in Antarctica, the unmarked building. Everybody knows it's NSA, but nobody knows what's going on in there, in the largest base in Antarctica. And they also have a presence at South Pole. But they're not going to be telling people, oh, I'm NSA, I'm here to protect the secrecy of the whole, Mr. Hecker. They're not going to do that. Why? Because they have oaths of office that they have to follow as well in their orders. But basically, the NSA was set up and tasked to manage everything on planet Earth, even outside of America, anything related to extraterrestrials. So any crash retrieval, live aliens, cover stories for crashes, or some of these legacy bases around the world, the NSA is monitoring every one of them, if not outright controlling the goings and comings from those locations. And there are several of these legacy bases around the world. And when you hear of a 10-mile deep earthquake in Dulce, New Mexico, which is the worst of the worst, do a little fist pump, because that is very good news for humanity, that some of this human experimentation underground base in a legacy base of the reptilians and the grays, who are all test tube, by the way, they're not natural born. The reptilians are, just like reptiles out of eggs, but the grays are all test tube. They're all synthetic beings, although they're extremely intelligent and telepathic and have abilities and technology that can control us, that they operate down in Dulce, New Mexico, right on the Colorado border, under a mountain called the Archuleta Mesa. And if you ever hear of an earthquake going on there, that's the one we want to take down, because down there is what's known as the Nightmare Hall that was described by several whistleblowers, including Charles Benowitz. Philip Schneider talked about the Nightmare Hall, as well as some other contractors. And it is the most horrific experimental area where body parts are in vats and people are in cages and screaming. It's terrible. It needs to be taken out. We've tried several times. Our special forces have lost in the battles underground, 50-1. But Philip Schneider says he did take out an ET and showed the scars of getting hit by a laser and in his chest at some of the conferences. And he was also showing extraterrestrial artifacts that they got out of some of these underground bases. And when he was suicided by a catheter around his neck, tied in the back so tight that it choked him to death. Now tell me, how does anybody do that to themselves? But his death was a suicide. They didn't take his money. They didn't take his valuables. The only thing they took were those ET artifacts that he was showing at conferences. And he was warned right before he died that if I'm ever killed, that they're coming after me. I've been warned many times, and I think they drove him off the road and shot at him. So whistleblowers, it is the most dangerous profession you can have in the world. And my hat's off to them. And I even dedicate some of my books for the ultimate sacrifice they paid to get this information out.
Let me ask you this before we get into the questions from the audience. There was something that came up in the last day or two from Tom DeLong, who just made a statement about just a thought that what if some of these lost civilizations fell at the hands of some of these extraterrestrials? And then I just thought about that. We know that they had achieved some sort of technological advancement in different eras, and always seemed to fall. And he just posed the question on what if that had to do with extraterrestrials, pretty much putting the kibosh on it, and then maybe that's something that could potentially happen today with our own technology and our own civilization. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, they're onto something, right? I'm glad they're bringing forth new information. And it just, look, more and more information just comes out to confirm all these things we're talking about every year than to make it opposite, to show that it was a fraud. It's not. More and more information shows out that there are UFOs, there are sightings, there are abductions, there are weird cattle mutilations, so many things. And yes, I do chronicle them in my books. And there's so much information that continues to produce more of this confirming evidence, more of these data points that all the conspiracy theorists, I hate that term, that was used for the covering up the Warren Commission and the Kennedy assassination. So I say it tongue in cheek. But everybody who follows these conspiracy subjects or a conspiracy researcher knows that there's so much out there. And the only thing we're hearing is more confirmation. So not that I'm out there asking myself or any of my colleagues are going to get an apology, because we know it's never going to come. But just that more and more people are becoming aware of this. And to me, that's the only thing that matters, is that the human race wakes up, because the revolution is consciousness. And that's what it's all about. That's how we win this thing. And that's how everybody can have skin in the game, by just listening to shows like Spaced Out Radio and reading books that'll inform them on. There's no agenda that I have or any of my authors. We're just getting information out there because it needs to be known. And it's like taking a horse to water. You can get them there, but you can't make them drink. Same thing with knowledge. You can have all the information out there for some of these normies, but if they don't want to think about it, they're not going to do it. So people just wake up at their own pace. I think we all know that, Mr. Rob. And
Yes, sir.
We just keep doing what we're doing, because I think it helps.
All right. Well, let's jump into some of these questions here. And actually, I didn't see this come through. Maggie M10, a super sticker. Appreciate you supporting Spaced Out Radio. Thank you. Thank you very much, Maggie M10. And question came from, first one here from Tamaltman. How can a hologram in the sky even exist with the jet stream, if you're able to explain?
Well, that's why the chemies have very tiny particulate matter that can stay up in the jet stream for some times. Yeah, eventually it does come down, but if they're going to spray a region really, really heavy, it can persist for days, weeks, even months, I understand. Dane Wigington, who does Geoengineering Watch, has done repeated tests on the top of mountains, finding enormous amounts of particulate matter that are coming down on the top of mountains in clouds. So holograms do need something in space that's kind of invisible, right? So smoke works really good, but these particulate matters would help. But they're light projections, and my understanding is they need something to help light them up, and that's the particulate matter in the chemies. If they want to use it that way, they can use it in different ways too. Conductivity can work by putting 5G and other frequencies in the air. It will help transmit farther from cell towers. So keep that in mind if you live near a 5G. They could amp those up to 18 gigahertz, and supposedly that's the moment that a lot of people might feel pain. Just saying, right. I want to keep it PG-13 here, but I think, yeah, the jet stream will move it around, but they keep spraying, and when they need it, they'll spray real heavy.
All right, let's jump into President Zaddy's question. Is the Bible unfolding, and is the New World Order coming than Jesus?
Well, the people who want to see Armageddon are pushing it forward. I don't. I want to make sure we don't destroy this planet and less loss of life. But definitely the New World Order is coming. We're already seeing it coming. They want us to own nothing and to be happy. And they've just made this, I call them the mother weffers, the World Economic Forum. They've just pushed up the agenda to 2025, that they want to, instead of 2030, that's too far out. No, we want you to own nothing and be happy in, a year and a half. So forget it. We're not going along with it. No compliance. Do not engage. I will not take part. No way. But they're going to throw everything at us. So how do we do it? Well, stock up. I think people know alternative forms of currency, barter. Have things that people need. Have things you need. The coming of Jesus, if it comes, probably in a hologram, probably in Project Bluebeam, and people would fall for it. Unfortunately, I don't think it's really the end all be all, but it could be the great space opera, as Bluebeam has been called, that it's going to be some kind of drama that takes place. Maybe Sasha Stone's contact in the Vatican tipped us off that it starts at the Paris summer or closing games of the Olympics this summer. 2024 is the slated year. Is that the coming of Jesus? Maybe as a hologram. We'll see. Good time to be alive to witness it all. I'll tell you that.
Definitely. Sovereign Cosmic Wildman's question is, have you heard that all earthquakes are actually underground nukes? And then what do you think are the real cause of quakes?
I don't think all quakes are underground nukes. There have been earthquakes around the world for ever, and there weren't nukes forever. Nukes are a pretty recent phenomenon in the last century. They can trigger nukes, and out here in the atomic testing area near Vegas, you can see the huge pockmarks. Go on Google Earth sometimes. Just go north and a little bit west of Vegas. You'll see all these valleys where these huge explosion marks are still there. But they didn't always trigger earthquakes, even though there was so many testings in one place. It can be done, sure. I think HARP is more of the earthquake weapon, by shooting these frequencies and targeting certain areas and getting a vibration going. Can be triggered that way. But the real cause of quakes is plate tectonics. There's movement. There are volcanoes. There is a fluid level below our mantle, and it's shifting around. Now, can it be triggered artificially? That's the scary thing, and I think it probably can. So we're dealing with maniacs that have very powerful weapons and also want to depopulate the planet and maybe blow it up before Ghislaine Maxwell releases her client list. Just seems to me that that's the level of psychosis we're dealing with, this deep state, New World Order, mother weffers. But we can make fun of them, and I like making fun of them. They hate it because they're such easy targets.
Yeah, now President Zaddy asks, who are the real people the Bible speaks about? If you're able to answer.
Not a real Bible scholar. I'm not sure any reference to real people. I follow a bunch of what it says about the Nephilim. Would that suffice? I could tell you that the Nephilim, I just learned recently, is the Hebrew word for giants. And some of my talks, one of my talks is about the history of the giants around the world and the elongated skulls. They're not human, these skulls that are being found. Okay, they got a head that goes out 30% larger than ours. Their eye sockets are 30% larger than ours. There's no central suture crack up their skull. Their necks are 30% larger than ours. Presumably, bodies 30% larger than ours. And many giants have been found much taller than the tallest human beings ever recorded. 8, 10, 12, 14 feet, some even bigger. giants around the world, and oftentimes with these elongated heads. They're human-like, but they're not quite human. Sometimes they even have 6 fingers, 6 toes, and additional vertebrae. There are subtleties about some of these giants, and the fact that they lived here on Earth, found around the world in skeletal form, it's pretty proof positive that there was some kind of taller, even alien race that may have, like Zechariah Sitchin says in the Sumerian text, created humans, that they took some DNA from the ape family and then shot some of theirs in there and created the human race that was just smart enough to take orders, but dumb enough not to question authority. That's what they wanted. And for a long time, the human race, that's all we were, just a commodity to them. And we do have owners. They think they own us. How do you think it is that we don't know who owns all the stocks in the major corporations? Who owns BlackRock? That is this holding company that is the most powerful company on the planet now. It's the 6th arm of government. It's so powerful. Yet you try to trace the money and you get to these bloodline families. Yes, most of it there, but then who's controlling them? And that's what I was saying earlier in the show, that this 4th dimensional backup, these malevolent ETs, have been assisting this globalist power in their goal, their agenda, their service to self, to create this one world government that is controlled by these invisible masters that are unelected. So we're on the precipice, you guys. It's right now happening. We're going to be watching it in real time. And I can only hope it just collapses like any kind of Project Bluebeam, fake alien invasion. It just glitches out and people can see how fake it is. And this whole thing just collapses before our eyes. To me, that would be the best case scenario if they try to pull this off.
All right. We got 2 more quick questions. Tamothman asks, how do they ventilate underground facilities?
So on the Archuleta Mesa, I was looking at Google Earth because I heard through my colleague Anthony Sanchez and others who studied the Dulce base that you could even find these massive ventilation tanks. You can't get up there. You'll probably get arrested. Just like you try to go into Area 51, they'll pick you up. So they do ventilate, and there are reports when the wind shifts in different directions. It's real putrid smell that comes out of there, and people smell it in the town of Dulce or elsewhere, but it's really nasty. And that's also what Philip Schneider said when he went down in one of the first underground wars. In fact, it was at Dulce. It was, the smell was just horrible. So they're able to live in those conditions, but humans would find it horrendous. And also keep in mind, we might be the only species that needs oxygen. Perhaps those other ones, they need it stinky like that. They need a different kind of gas down there for them to breathe. Just a possibility.
Last question here. The Night Stalker, where does magic and ritualism fit into this stuff?
Oh, it's fit in for a very, very long time. And I'll just end with a quote from William Cooper, who said, it was known then and is discovered now that these malevolent ETs have been using secret societies, witchcraft, magic, the occult, and religion to manipulate humanity through the centuries. I'm paraphrasing that quote, but that's essentially what he said. The 5 secret societies, witchcraft, magic, the occult, and religion. All of those have been used, facilitated to create their cutouts, to do their bidding, to go out and keep this ritualistic dark world going. And it's multi-generational. That's what anybody who comes out of some of these bloodline families who escape, they do it multi-generation. They do it to the children, so the children do it to their children and keep the whole thing going. Yeah, they get a lot of money, fame, fortune. A lot of celebrities, unfortunately, have been sucked into this magic and ritualism too. And they made a deal with the devil. That's everybody's going to have to grapple with their own personal karma That's what basically passing, when you die, you don't get judged by St. Peter's if you're going to get to heaven. You're going to go into your life review and you're going to see everything you did, for better or for worse. And if you did a lot of bad, probably going to have to come on right back to a human body and figure it all out. So why not just get it done right now in this lifetime? That's what I'm working on. Certainly only want to do good things. You too, Mr. Rob G. And thank you guys for having me on tonight. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, Brad Olsen, everybody. Great conversation. Brad, got to have you back on. There's so many other places we could have went tonight with the amount of time that we had. So I really appreciate you, and we will be talking soon. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, so you want to find out what I'm up to in my conference speaking schedule where I'll be, you can go to bradolsen.com, just as spelled on the screen there. And you want to read some of my books, some of the authors I publish, cccpublishing.com. Those are the two big ones. And we mentioned How Weird Street Faire, the event I produce, howweird.org is the page for that.
Awesome sauce, man. Thanks for coming. I enjoyed the conversation. We will be doing this again, Brad. You were great. But right now, we're going to do is pause for the cause with our last break of the night as we get ready to jump into hour 3, the final hour of After Hours right here on Spaced Out Radio. You have a great rest of your night, Brad. Appreciate you.
Yeah, you too, Mr. Rob G. Thanks again for having this conversation tonight. And see you another time. We'll do it again.
You know it. Take care.
Good night.
All right. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 3 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. And for the final hour, we're going to do a few things. I know some of the trivia people might be wanting to try to get back on the trivia tip. But right now, we're going to look at a couple things. I want to show off this space traveler thing again. Because all the space travelers consider taking the next step, join the club. That's right. You can join the Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 by joining our Patreon. Get some official Spaced Out swag at spacedoutradio.com. And we're going to take a look at that, actually. We're going to jump back in and see what type of stuff we actually have over at Spaced Out Radio, because we talk about it all the time. We showed it earlier in the show. And we're going to show it again because I think you guys should think about getting some swag. It's almost Christmas time. Going to get your family member a gift, and why not get some of this good stuff over at spacedoutradio.com. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what it is that we have here. We don't have ugly swag. That's what Dave Scott said. He made the tag. He coined the phrase. And it's true, because we don't. Shop today at spacedoutradio.com. Let's take a look-see. Yes, random guy t-shirts. Random guy t-shirts. You got to get your random guy t-shirt. You got to rock your random guy t-shirt. We got the alien rocker tee. Right? Look what we got, the baby long sleeve organic bodysuit. We got the baby bodysuit on the screen here. We got the badass Merle tee. That one looks pretty sick. The badass Merle tee. Let's go ahead and consider that. The Bigfoot toque or the beanie. If you're in the United States of America, we call those beanies. The Bigfoot beanie or the Bigfoot toque if you're from Canada. The Bob Lazar tee. Bobby Lazar, Bob Lazar, Robert Lazar. And the Canadian Sasquatch tee. We have the S.O.R, the old school S.O.R logo. We have the pins. And we have the Dave Scott draws. Dave Scott Beard and Hair Awareness draws right here on the screen. You can order these right at spacedoutradio.com. You can get the Dogman Let's Rock tee or the sought after El Ovni Volador, who once again is not Dave Scott. Dave Scott is not El Ovni. I have to say this again. We got the F.U. Dave. Zaddy wants that shirt. We got to send Zaddy one of those shirts, man. F.U. Dave. We got to send Zaddy one. We got the Grantavius Max, the Superman tight fit for the biceps, so your biceps can show. We got that in the Spaced Out Radio store. We got the holographic die cut stickers. We got the Is Anybody Out There baseball tee. We got the Kids Wendigo. Remember we talked about Wendigo on trivia the other week? It was the Canadian cryptid. Look, Kids Wendigo hoodie. Dave Scott has it in the store, so he knows about Wendigo. We got the Ladies Spaced Out Radio Street hoodie with the logo right on your chest. We got the Lip Blade t-shirt. I think he probably did that after Grantavius Max, the Lip Blade. Then we got the men's S.O.R hoodie, the white one. I like that one right there. I would probably rock that one for sure. You got the Merle t-shirt. You got the Merle t-shirt. You got the Peak Woo. And we needed that the other night. Everybody needed to have that shirt on, the Peak Woo shirt, because Peak Woo was hitting S.O.R. It got real crazy. We have the Phoenix Lights concert shirt. We have the Plethora Drink baseball shirt, the Sasquatch USA tee representing for the United States of America. We had the short sleeve baby bodysuits. We Own the Night tee, the Bluetooth speaker. And it's actually a charging pad as well. Okay, I like that. The S.O.R classic hoodie, if you just want to go classic with it. We have the S.O.R Coolio sleeve to keep your drink cold or warm. We got the dinner tea. We got the S.O.R Fade tea. Oh, it's fairy tea. Is that fairy? Okay. We got the fairy tank. We got the S.O.R kicks. I like that color scheme, black and white. We own the night. Man, okay. We got the S.O.R logo sticker. We got some tumblers. We have the official spacedoutradio.com t-shirt. We have the old school S.O.R sticker. Okay, the S.O.R UFO tee. We got the water bottle. We have the tank tops, the Team Rock women's tank tops. Oh, the Cryptid Huntress off the trails tank top. So shout out to the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and her merch. I need to get some merch in there. Where's the after hours merch? Got to add that to the collection here. We got the Sassy Squatch tee. We got the Tim Senor Alien Woo shirt. We got the Dave Scott UFOs and Tacos t-shirt because he loves Taco Bell. We own the night cap. We own the night draws. We own the night t-shirts. I like the font on that. The women's Phoenix Lights concert tank. We got the women's UFOs and Tacos tank. We got the women's Woo Train undies. And then we got the Woo Factor t-shirts, Woo Factor pillow, Woo Factor trainer boxers for the fellas. And we have the Woo Train mug and the You've Got Aliens t-shirt, and more merch is to come. Derek Galloway, you funny, man. The Rob G merch is not there yet. Yes, we do. We do, Zaddy. We need that Rob G bandana. I know. That's coming. That's coming. We got to talk to Dave Scott, get that worked out, or at least the after hours bandana. One of the two will work for me. And what else do we got? Okay, that's it, because we don't have ugly swag. I just showed you we don't have ugly swag. So go ahead and shop today at spacedoutradio.com. Go on and just support and grab something and take a picture in your spaced out gear so we can put it on the website. That's what we're trying to do here. We want to get all you guys on the website wearing the spaced out gear so you can get it at spacedoutradio.com. And then once again, the Space Travelers Club, we talk about it every day, every show. Patreon.com/SOR_space_travelers_club. Currently at 36 members. We would love to have more. Consider becoming a member. You can get a tiny bit of woo for $5. You can get a woo-tastic plan for $10. You can get a woo-tacular plan for $15. And then if you want to step it up a notch, you can get the Out of This Woo for $20. You can get The Woo Has Landed and the Making Dave Woozy. So whatever your flavor, you can join for as little $5 per month. And we would love to have new people join. We would love to see that. All right. There it is. There's the website. Make sure you guys go check it out. You guys consider becoming a member. All right. So, all the formalities out of the way. Now we can go ahead and get into some cool stuff here real quick. I had a couple. Let me bring this up. Because there's a few different things we do in hour 3 that we kind of mix around and try out, move things around. So I want to run through a couple of weird stories, because we actually do have the weird and strange news. So I had a couple stories that I wanted to go over here, and then maybe we'll end the night off with a little bit of trivia. My voice is a little raspy right now because I'm just getting over a cold, and so I don't know how that's going to affect me later, but let me go ahead and jump into a few weird stories. So we have first story, which is the motorcyclist that was taken to the hospital after tarantula crossing the road causes a collision in California. So a tarantula going across the road caused a collision. Tarantula crossing the road caused a collision that left the motorcyclist in the hospital in California. Two tourists from Switzerland braked abruptly to avoid killing the spider after seeing it crossing State Route 190 in the Death Valley National Park on Saturday. A 24-year-old Canadian man on a mountain bike then crashed into the back of the couple's rented camper van, the National Park Service said in a statement. The spider walked away unscathed. The NPS added the motorcyclist was taken to the Desert View Hospital in Pahrump, Nevada for treatment. His condition was not known. NPS Superintendent Michael Reynolds, who was the first to reach the scene of the crash, urged the public to drive slowly, especially going down steep hills in the park. Our roads still have gravel patches due to flood damage, and wildlife of all sizes are out, he said. Most of the park's roads remain closed after flash flooding was caused during Storm Hilary in August. The NPS warned that tarantulas are most commonly spotted in the autumn when the males leave their burrows in search of a mate. A bite by a tarantula has been reported to feel similar to a bee sting and is not deadly to humans. The incident is not the first of its kind involving tourists in America's national parks this year. In July, a 47-year-old woman from Phoenix suffered significant injuries to her chest and abdomen after being bitten by a bison in Yellowstone National Park. In the same month, an 8-year-old was attacked by a cougar and suffered minor injuries in Olympic National Park, Washington State. Yeah, I can understand being bit by a cougar, even a tarantula, but how do you get bit by a bison? How does getting bit by a bison, how is that even a thing? I don't get it. How do you get close enough to a bison to get bit by a bison? Doesn't make sense to me. All right. We also have a story about a creepy doll head that blocks Bristol sewer as water company issues Halloween warning. So a crew investigating a blocked toilet was left alarmed to find the head of a child's doll, complete with flushed wet wipes for hair, that was causing the problem in a sewer. Wessex Water says it wants to avoid more blockage horror stories this Halloween. A water company has warned customers not to flush rubbish down the toilet after a doll's head caused a spooky pre-Halloween blockage. Workers investigated a blocked toilet had a fright when they found the head of a child's doll, complete with gruesome hair made up of flushed wet wipes. The creepy figure was found in a Bristol sewer by a Wessex Water crew. To make matters worse, it cannot be shifted with rods and jetting equipment, and the team eventually had to smash it and pull it out of the end of a hose. The company is now reminding customers not to put anything down the toilet unless it is one of the 3 Ps. Flushing anything other than the 3 Ps, paper, poo, or pee, down the loo can block pipes and lead to sewage flooding your home or someone else's, a Wessex Water spokesperson said. The biggest cause of these blockages are wet wipes, which often contain plastic and don't break down like toilet paper. They end up in rivers and the environment and cause pollution incidents as well as contributing to fatbergs in sewers. This isn't language we use here in United States, so I don't know what fatbergs are, but it is not the first time toys have been discovered in the firm's network, with Peppa Pig and even the elusive fish Nemo found in sewers previously. So quit flushing stuff down your toilet that isn't one of the three P's, like they said. I think that goes for anywhere in the world, regardless of where you're from. The three P's, and that's it. So let's see. I did have one other story, weird story, and it's related to aliens. So this is going to be out of Wales. So aliens in Wales likely cause of bright flashes near Wrexham, explained by power firm after local speculation. The flashes of light, which were seen on Monday evening, have been described as quite creepy, while one resident said on social media they nearly spat out their cup of tea in shock. But the likely explanation is less exciting than fireworks, explosion, or life from other worlds. Bright flashes of light, which, quote, lit up the whole room, left at least one person in North Wales thinking aliens might have landed. Several residents in Ponku, a village near Wrexham, said they witnessed 3 bright flashes of light on Monday evening. People in several other nearby villages in North Wales had also witnessed the flashes. Michelle Coe lives on the outskirts of Wrexham Town Center. She told Sky News she was sitting watching television when 3 really bright flashes lit up the whole room. It was quite creepy, really, when we look back on the CCTV and how far and wide people saw this light and this flash, she added. Suggestions on social media on what might have caused the bright light included fireworks or an exploded pylon. One person even suggested that aliens had landed. Ms. Coe said that she had briefly thought that herself, with it being the eve of Halloween, but, quote, on reflection, we don't know what it was. It was definitely a bit strange. It was really an odd thing to happen, she added. Another local resident told Sky News he had noticed a bright flash and initially thought it may have been a lightning strike. He then saw, quote, 2 more very bright flashes, but he could not see anything out of the windows. Some car alarms were set off, according to another social media user, and another user said, quote, nearly spat out their cup of tea. A power company says the explanation is likely less interesting than the arrival of extraterrestrial life. A spokesperson for Scottish Power said the circuit between the legacy local grid in Johnstown tripped on October 30th, which may account for the flashes described. There were no customer interruptions, and remedial work has been completed to ensure the continued resilience of our network. So it wasn't as weird as it thought. They just said maybe aliens, but power company describes it off as being something explainable. So let me see if they had anything else. I thought that was going to be weird, but it really wasn't. Oh, okay. Let's finish it off with this one. This one seems to be pretty good. And you have to excuse my voice. It's going out. Doctors find spider crawling and shedding skin inside woman's ear. Dr. David Castle said the average ear, nose, and throat specialist will see tens, if not more, of bugs or some sort of arthropod in patients' ears throughout their careers. Oh, let me have a drink real quick. Oh, geez, thank you. All right. So a woman went to a clinic after struggling to sleep for days, where doctors found a spider crawling around her inside her ear. The 64-year-old from Taiwan felt movement in her left ear for several nights in April, followed by clicking and rustling before deciding to visit doctors. Doctors then found a small spider moving around her ear canal upon examination. It had discarded its exoskeleton, otherwise known as its hard body covering, nearby. Dr. Cheng Chin Wang, director of oncology otolaryngology department at Tainan Municipal Hospital told Sky News U.S. partner network NBC News doctors then used the tube to suction out the spider and exoskeleton. He added the woman didn't feel pain because the spider was very small at around 2 to 3 millimeters. But as it was the first case he had seen of an insect molting inside a human's ear, he wrote a case report in the New England Journal of Medicine. Dr. Wang also urged the public to get checked if they had the same symptoms. Dr. David Castle, a physician at ENT, Sinus, and Allergy of South Florida, said the image of the insect from Dr. Wang's report was unusual and disturbing. But he added the average ear, nose, and throat specialist will see tens, if not more, of bugs or some sort of arthropod in patients' ears over their career. He said there's an extremely sensitive thin layer of skin that lines the ear canal called the external auditory canal. Because of its sensitivity, you're obviously going to feel the crawling sensation, a tickle sensation that is almost unbearable. In the new report, Dr. Wang recommended using lidocaine or ethanol to kill larger insects, stopping them from moving and damaging the ear. But this should be avoided if an eardrum has a hole in it, which may be hard for people to determine on their own. Yeah, okay. Bugs in your ear. Reminds me of this, I think was it the Twilight Zone? Back in the day where they had earwigs. They had the earwig that went into the woman's ear and like ate her brain or did something crazy like that. So I'm always scared of anything going in my ear. In my ear or in my nose. Something flying in your nose. Yeah, that's weird. So with that being said, do you know that I've heard, I don't know how true, this could be just like a folklore or myth old wives tell, but they say you eat thousands of bugs within your lifetime when you sleep. Spiders, all sorts of things that might be crawling, creepy crawlies, crawling on your face. And you unknowingly eat these things as you sleep. Has anyone else heard of that? Please tell me, because I'm pretty sure that's a thing. Van Gogh wears earplugs to bed because I'm such a light sleeper and have crazy hearing sometimes, but also because I don't want no damn bugs getting in my ear holes. Yeah. Yeah, Derek Galloway, bro. We all eat bugs daily. It's in our food facts. Okay, I mean, if you want to go there. Oh, Deb from Sacramento. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you. She don't want to hear about that, Rob G. I know. But, in some countries, I forgot what they call that online. There's a name for it, but they have in a lot of foreign markets, they actually fry up all sorts of creepy critters for you to eat. And they eat them. And I don't know, I wouldn't do it myself. But they do it in other countries, and it's sometimes considered a delicacy. Oh, man, don't say this, Neil Warden. Corn snacks have bugs in them. What type of corn snacks, man? Come on. Now, okay, you're on to something, Neil Warden. There's a stop in, if you're ever going from Las Vegas and you're coming back towards California, there's a town that you go through about a quarter of the way called Baker. It's Baker, California. In Baker, there's a gas station. It's the one, if you ever pass through there, it's the one that has the Dairy Queen connected to it. There, they sell crickets inside of in suckers. So suckers and the cricket is on the inside. Or scorpions. Scorpions on the inside of the suckers. They have worms inside the sucker too. And a kids bought one and they didn't need it. They didn't need it. But I was thinking about getting one next time I pass through there. Yeah, Alien Jerky is there too, Sovereign. There's an Alien Jerky store right there. Yeah, but they have also scorpions and all sorts of stuff. But you gotta figure that's that can almost be considered food to some people in some places in some dire situations, right? What if you were out in the wild hungry and you couldn't catch an animal? You couldn't find any plants growing to eat. What would you do? What would you do? Come on, everybody knows this Derek Galloway. Yeah, I don't even want to go into it because it can actually, if you really knew the truth, you would probably not be happy. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, I heard see, malnourishing nourishing scorpion, just don't chew the sting. And I've heard that. I heard if they're seasoned right, they taste pretty good, man. I've heard that, but I don't know that because I haven't done that. And I don't, I'm on the fence. I might do it just to live a little, to live a little. You got to live a little. So I'm considering it. All right. So what I want to do now, real quick here, since my voice is going out, I want to, let me see. I want to do some trivia, but we've asked a lot of the questions that you can ask over the past few weeks. So maybe, let's see. Oh, shoot. Okay, let me do this here. All right, let's see what we can do. All right, Mothman, you were the reigning champion in our S.O.R trivia. So let's go ahead and give somebody a chance to knock you off your pedestal, to strike you down, or maybe Mothman strikes other people down and reclaims his rightful spot on the top, right where he's supposed to be. That's right. We're going to do some S.O.R trivia. The winner will be put in the chat of this video, or the comment section of this video, for all of eternity. All of eternity, forever, with fire emojis and the whole nine. Bragging rights amongst your peers. And yeah, I mean, I feel like we might. I don't know. I can't co-sign for anybody today. We'll see what we get. Let me line up a few questions. You guys just get your fingers together. And Derek, no voice to text, dude. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, let's go with this one. Question number one. Question number one. Question number one. Question number one. What is the name of the U.S. government program initiated by the Pentagon in 2020 to investigate and analyze unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UAP? What is the name of the U.S. government program initiated by the Pentagon in 2020 to investigate and analyze unidentified aerial phenomenon? What was the name of the group in 2020 initiated by the Pentagon to investigate, analyze unidentified aerial phenomenon? Remember, there's been a lot of name changes to this program over the years. So in 2020, what was the name of the program? Now it's Arrow. But in 2020, when it first hit, ATIP was the older joint from way back. But what was the new one? Yes. Zaddy's on it. Zaddy's jumping out to the lead. He's not playing. It is the UAP task force. Remember, that was the first of many names that they've went with in the last few years and finally landed on Arrow. But it was the UAP task force. Yep, sure was. Zaddy for the win. Okay, here we go. Let's see. What is the term used to describe a circular or spiral pattern found in fields, often attributed to UFO activity? What is the term used to describe a circular or spiral pattern found in fields, often attributed to UFO activity? Okay. People are jumping on out. I'll see you. And I want to say it is Van Gogh. Van Gogh. Crop circle. It is a crop circle. Good job, Van Gogh. Okay, I want to make sure these are attainable. Okay, what is the name of the U.S. military pilot who reported encountering a UFO during a training exercise over the Pacific Ocean in 2004, leading to the release of declassified footage in 2017? Yeah, can't just say Fravor. First one that said David Fravor. Not doctor, but commander, but his name's David Fravor, so you're good there. Grandmaster UV. Grandmaster UV. Came out of nowhere, too. Welcome, Grandmaster UV. Okay. What is the term used to describe an alleged secret government program that studies advanced extraterrestrial technology? What is the term used to describe an alleged secret government program that studies advanced extraterrestrial technology? Yeah, I don't think the question was positioned right. If I don't see anyone get anything close, then yeah, you're not going to get it. Yeah, let's just move on. What is the name of the small town in Brazil where a large number of people reported witnessing UFO sightings and encounters with strange beings? It was the town. They did a documentary here called Moment of Contact. What is the name of the small town? Ooh, okay. Grandmaster UV again. Varginha, Brazil. Varginha. Okay, let's see. Yeah, probably won't know that one. Let me get one that's going to be easy. What does UFO stand for? What does UFO stand for? There we go. That was easy as pie. Easy as pie. Deb from Sacramento, unidentified flying objects. Love it. That is the correct answer. That was a gimme too. In 1947, an incident involving a supposed UFO crash occurred near Roswell, New Mexico. What is this event commonly referred to as? (1947). Okay. Joe Monk. It is the Roswell incident or the Roswell UFO incident, either one. All right, nice. What New Hampshire couple claimed to have been abducted by extraterrestrial beings while driving through rural New England? Okay, yeah, Joe Monk. He's on fire. Joe Monk is on fire. Betty and Barney Hill for sure. I know Joe Monk, I want to say, is probably tied for the lead with someone right now. So let's go. What is the term used to describe the phenomenon where people believe they have been taken by extraterrestrials and subjected to various examinations or experiences? What is the term used to describe the phenomenon where people believe they have been taken by extraterrestrials and subjected to various examinations or experiences? I'll give it to Joe Monk. Joe Monk was the first one to say abduction, although it is an alien abduction. But I know where you're going. So Joe Monk, abduction. Tim Ogden said Whitley Strieber. Yeah, that too. Okay. Okay. What is the name of the town in West Virginia that became famous for a supposed mass UFO sighting or Mothman sighting in the 60s? What is the name of the town? Or the Mothman sightings? Name of the town, Mothman sightings. Oh, okay. I think we got it. Somebody did put it here. That would be Van Gogh. Point Pleasant. Point Pleasant is the answer. So with these answers, make sure you're soaking these in too, because this is really knowledge. You know, in this field of ufology, we talk about these things all the time. We talk about these different cases. So if you didn't get the answer right, take the right answer and put it in your data bank. And that's kind of the one of the purposes here. So let me see. All right. This one, let me see how I can ask. This is too easy. What man claimed to have worked at a top secret facility called S.O.R near Area 51, where he allegedly back engineered extraterrestrial technology? What man claimed to work at a top secret facility called S.O.R? Yeah. Okay, yeah, looks like it's Grandmaster UV. Oh, Bobby Lazar, Roberto Lazar, Robert Lazar, Bob Lazar. That's right. You know he's coming. You know they're coming out with that movie too. The movie's gonna be pretty epic. We interviewed the filmmaker Luigi Venditelli. We showed those awesome pictures. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's do it like this. What is the name of the former U.S. government official who claimed to have seen evidence of extraterrestrial technology during his time working at the Pentagon? In 2017. Came out in 2017. Was the head of the UFO program 2017. Okay, let me run it back. What is the name of the former U.S. Now, keep in mind, this is 2017. What is the name of the former U.S. government official who claimed to have seen evidence of extraterrestrial technology during his time working at the Pentagon? Okay, yeah, sovereign Lou Elizondo. Maggie did say Elizondo, though. You didn't say Lou Elizondo, but I know you're talking about Maggie and 10. Yeah, Google might be a friend. I don't know. Let's see. Okay. What is the name of the astronomer, UFO researcher who coined the term close encounter to classify different types of UFO sightings? What is the name of the UFO researcher who coined the term close encounter to classify different types of UFO sightings? These are guesses, or are these a lot of different names being thrown out? Okay, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Let's show them who it is, Fast Hemi. Dr. J. Allen Hynek coined the term close encounters. So CE 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This all started with J. Allen Hynek. But that's good information for you to know. That's pretty important in this. If you're in this field, it's kind of important to know. Kind of important to know. Okay, yep. And we're into the last one. There's a problem. I'm sure there's a tie. What's the name of the documentary filmmaker known for his investigations into UFOs and related phenomena, including the film UFOs, the best evidence ever caught on tape, and curator of the Mexico Peruvian mummies? The Mexico Peruvian mummies. Who brought out the Mexico Peruvian mummies? Yep, it's pretty easy. Grandmaster UV, I think, got it first. Let me make sure with the chat settling, because I think, okay, yeah, Grandmaster UV, Jaime Musan. Love him or hate him, that's who brought it out. That's who brought it out. Let's go ahead and tally up the vote. Yeah, it was Peru. It was Peru. Oh, your mummy wasn't Peru. You're funny, man. That is hilarious, man. On the under, he's kind of hilarious. All right, so let me go and tally up the votes. We got President Zaddy with 1. Okay, just 1. That's all right, Zaddy. We go next time. We got Van Gogh with 1, 2. So Van Gogh with 2. We got Grandmaster UV with 1, 2, 3, 4. Grandmaster UV with 4. We got Deb from SAC with 1. You got Joe Monk, though. Joe Monk had 1, 2, 3. We got Maggie M10 with 1. Then we got Fast Hemi with 1. So your winner for tonight, fire emojis in the whole 9. Give it up for Grandmaster UV. Grandmaster UV, everybody.
Wait a minute.
All right, Grandmaster UV, fire emojis in the whole 9 for eternity at the bottom of this video in the comment section. We're going to have another list, and I don't know when we'll do it. Maybe wait till next week. Not sure. We'll play it by ear, and we'll see what happens. Tomorrow's guest is Nancy Thames. I want to thank all the super chatters today, who was Maggie M10, and then President Zaddy ×2 said, F you, Dave. And then Fire Show, I agree with you, Zaddy. Fire Show, as we always do around here, Spaced Out Radio, especially on the after hour. Dave has it lit during the week, then we have to get it more lit on the weekend. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and thank our guests for today. Mr. Brad Olsen, actually awesome conversation. I really love his perspective. We will be talking again too. So just so you know, we're going to bring him back. Go ahead and go on and get some of that Space Travelers gear, spacedoutradio.com. I showed you all the fresh gear. I showed you how to get to the Patreon and become a space traveler. So as we prepare to bring the show to a close, to all the space travelers out there, make sure you go and check that out. Join that club, $5 per month. We appreciate all your support. To all our viewers and listeners across the globe, I want to thank you for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we always do best. And what is that, you ask? We own the night. You guys have a great rest of your night. Take care.